The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Late Night was back, baby, and they had some good jokes about their absence. Jimmy Kimmel said, "We've been gone so long, the Bachelor's now a grandfather." That is a great joke. Fallon, the stalemate finally ended when the studios realized we've got to end this now or it's another 3 months of watching Suits. Fallon again, it's kind of weird coming back after being gone for 5 months. The studio was empty for so long, NBC converted it to a spirit Halloween. Seth Meyers said he missed his writers so much. I was so happy to see them this morning, although by lunch I was a little over it. Jimmy Fallon again, I was more excited than the guy seeing Beetlejuice with Lauren Boebert. Think about it. Fallon again. Yeah, everybody's excited today. My dad called up and said, finally, I can watch Kimmel again. Seth Meyers thanked his family, noting it was not easy to have me around for 5 months. I'll never forget the day this summer my 7-year-old came up to me and said, not only do I not care what Rudy Giuliani did today, I'm not going to care what he does tomorrow. While I hear that, I do think he's missing out. All right, Trevor Noah, this whole India thing is just wonderful. I mean, I love when there's a story that comes out of nowhere and I get so much content out of it. I told you yesterday, Trevor's comments about how poor he felt the venue was for his canceled shows. Didn't phrase that correctly. You know what I meant? Well, people on social media are now upset with Trevor Noah. Some on Twitter called him overrated, while another questioned him for insulting the city, saying, don't laugh, you idiots. He'll go back to where he came from. Do the same to your city as well. Another shared, some laugh at this attempt at crass humor. Noah's overrated. Those mouth sounds are amateur. Give me Veer Das any day. You tell him. Speaking of Veer Das, he has been nominated for an International Emmy Award. I didn't know that was a thing, the International Emmy Award in the comedy category. This for his last Netflix special, Landing. Landing was a response to the Two Indias controversy that Veer Das was caught in. I wonder if people were upset about him. More awards news. I had mentioned to you that the Golden Globe Awards have introduced a category for Best Stand-Up Comedy Performance. That's good for me. More content for me. Some comedians weighed in. Gabe Iglesias said we should just call it the Ricky Gervais. Joe Coy took this all so seriously and said he's thrilled that the Golden Globes were acknowledging contributions of my fellow comedians in the world of stand-up comedy. I have a deep passion for this beautiful art form, and it brings me immense joy to see them shine a spotlight on the exceptional work done by my colleagues in the industry. Taylor Tomlinson, stand-up is more popular than it's ever been thanks to the internet. It's very cool to see it being recognized like this as an art form. Bert Kresicher, a little less quotey, said, it was nice to know for at least one meal a year, stand-up comedy is finally invited to sit at the adult table. We belong at the kids' table, but it's nice to know we can sit with the grown-ups, and they'll let us drink. Golden Globes, January. 6 comedians will duke it out for the title. Can't wait to see who is nominated there. Speaking of Bert Kresicher, he suited up with the Anaheim Ducks. It did not go well. He shared some videos of Bert approaching the ice on skates and said, all right, get ready for me to fall. He took a shot from clear across the ice, trying to hit the net. It almost went in. It did not cross the goal line. No goal for you. Kresicher had made a promotional video asking the Anaheim Ducks if he could come over. Let's listen.
I think my wife's wrong. I think this looks great on me, and it would look even better in goalie equipment. Gentlemen from the Ducks, I heard the offer. September 30th, I'm at the Honda Center performing. That day, I'm all yours. You sent the offer to my wife for me to try out for goalie. Send it to me next time. She said no. My answer is yes. My answer is always yes. I want to be a goalie for a day. Gear me up. And we're going tarps off. You guys don't test for steroids, do ya?
Bert Kresicher wore a number 11 Ducks jersey with last name The Machine. By the way, The Machine is streaming on Netflix now. I haven't gotten to it yet. Looking forward to that. Kresicher's often partner in crime, comedy, something, podcasting, changed the life of Chase Thompson. Thompson works at Wilford's Barber Shop on South Jefferson Street in Pensacola. He's been a barber for 5 years, and he has a long list of clients, about 60 to 80 people per week. One of them, Tom Segura. Thompson reached out to Segura on Twitter about 2 years ago, by the way. This from WEAR-TV. Before Segura was going to play Pensacola, and he offered to give the comedian a haircut while he was in town. Thompson said it was as simple as reaching out to him on social media. He was here for a show, and I asked him if he wanted to get cleaned up before a show. Segura said, yeah. Thompson added, I thought at that point that was cool, even if he doesn't come into the shop. I was super happy that he wrote me back. One day, in walks Tom Segura. Thompson said the first 15 minutes were kind of nerve-wracking. Once the nerves went away, I was just in my zone and did my thing. It was fine. I just didn't want to cut him. That would have been bad. I mean, we all love Tom Segura, and I don't know what person would be in the barber chair that you'd be super intimidated cutting their hair. I'm not a hair cutter. There must be somebody who's really known for their famous hair that you wouldn't want to mess up. But like, I don't know, what's the worst that happens? You give Tom Segura a bad haircut and he makes fun of you on stage and gets 10 minutes out of it. Segura now flies Thompson out to tour locations to get touch-ups. Segura says Chase is a magician with blades and scissors. Thompson said, I didn't think I'd travel this much in this job. Going to California, Phoenix, being with him and the crew. Simple things, going to dinners and just hanging out in green rooms. It's very surreal. Thompson says, they always have you on standby, so when the phone rings, I'll be there. Thank you, Batman. Hey, this is cool. A long-last classic from British comedy from the Monty Pythoners have been found. All 6 episodes of The Complete and Utter History of Britain have been rediscovered. They were found in the ITV archives. They've been misfiled for decades. The series is a mockumentary-style look at British history as if TV had existed centuries ago. Sketches include post-game interviews with participants in the Battle of Hastings and Julius Caesar's home movies. The show was created, written by, and starred Terry Jones and Michael Palin. You know them from Monty Python's Flying Circus. After The Complete and Utter History, they moved to join forces with some other young British comedy writers. They became Monty Python's Flying Circus. Prior to this, they thought only 2 episodes and a couple clips had survived. All that was released on DVD in 2014 as the new incomplete Complete and Utter History of Britain. The show has now been fully restored and is streaming on ITV Premium, and we'll see if it gets a physical release. Billy Connolly spoke to NME. He had some nice things to say about black comedians generally in their 50s and 60s, saying, they say it like it is. It's breathtaking. That's wonderful, and I'm glad they exist because the social workeration that has passed through comedy is vomit-inducing. Comedians never used to worry about what's correct to say. You said it, and you soon found out whether it was correct or not, and then you got on with it. That was a good enough rule for me. I'm wondering who he means. I'm thinking of people that fit that general description. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. Meanwhile, Catherine Ryan is catching some pushback. She was on Desert Island Discs. Desert Island Discs was recorded September 6th before the Russell Brand allegations were published. Now, previously, Ryan had said she had wrestled with the decision on working with an unnamed comedian she believed to be a perpetrator of sexual assault. On Desert Island Discs, recorded in early September before the Brand accusations came out, Catherine Ryan said, I got a lot of, why won't you say who it is? It's because everyone knows who it is. What they want is the women's names, and that's what I won't give, and that's why I'm reluctant. No one's asking for his name. It's funny how people go straight to accusing, you're the problem. You won't give his name. We're not the problem. If I had a choice, I could go to work with someone who I believe to be a perpetrator of sexual assault, or I could turn down the job. Those were my options. Ryan said she believed at the time the person was or is dangerous, but felt she would have achieved nothing by turning down the show. My compromise was, I'm going to go and let him know under no uncertain terms what I think of him. I'm not just going to allow this behavior. I'm not going to let him think that I don't know and that everybody he works with is just going to let him get away with it. So that's the attitude I took into the show. And did I do the right thing or the wrong thing? I still don't know. But I just felt, why should I stay home? He should stay home. But if he's going to be there, I'm going to be there and tell him what I think. This year's edition of the long-running Cool Comedy Hot Cuisine fundraiser for the Scleroderma Research Foundation will be a tribute to Bob Saget, who was a longtime board member and co-host of the event. This year's event, Wednesday, November 8th, at the Edison Ballroom in New York City, part of the New York Comedy Festival. Comedian Jeff Ross will host the event. It will also feature Michael Che and Nikki Glazer. I missed one. I didn't tell you yesterday. Beth Stelling, If You Didn't Want Me, premiered on Netflix. It's still there. You can watch it. Out tomorrow on the 800-Pound Gorilla YouTube channel, Greg Warren's The Salesman. Friday, digitally, The Road Dog, a movie starring Doug Stanhope, will be out. And also on Friday on YouTube, Joe Perez, Slow and Steady. Thank you to Sleeves the Rabbit, who left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Sleeves, thank you for listening every day, and wrote, I'm a longtime listener, and I've always appreciated Johnny's delivery and occasional commentary. Someone else wrote a comment that he's negative to women, and I honestly don't see that at all. I know that he's mentioned liking several female comedians and included many in his favorite comedy specials of the year. As a queer trans female comedian myself, I think it would be great to see more coverage of comedians of my ilk, but I know he's largely just reporting on what he sees written in the news media, which is largely male-focused, so I don't know if there's much that can be done on that front. Hey, thanks for listening. Shoot me some of your stuff. I'll share a clip. Be happy to. And your analysis is correct. As I put together the show, usually I start with, I go to Google and I type in the word comedy and I see what's there. Comedian is the second thing I search for. I also follow a bunch of sources on Twitter. There's a few websites I check out. If it's a slower news day, I will start to type in the names of actual comedians. I'll often find gold under the names Chappelle, Mulaney, Gaffigan, Davidson. They tend to turn up a lot of random things. If there's still nothing, I'll go a little deeper and I'll type in words like Saget, Kresicher. As I talk, I realize I haven't mentioned any women in that list. I think that's just because the names I mentioned tend to talk a lot, and some of them, Pete Davidson and Dave Chappelle, tend to be involved in stories with colorful details that I get a lot of stuff out of, like this week, the Trevor Noah thing. This is a week where I'm going out of my way to look up Trevor Noah because the India stuff is just fascinating to me and hilarious. But yeah, there tends to be more material about male comedians. And I think that's probably if we looked at we put every comedian who performs in the United States in a room and we counted, there'd probably be some sort of percentage that would lean male. And I think that's kind of where the news falls out. Following your sentence as a queer trans female comedian, I think it'd be great to see more coverage of comedians of my ilk. I'd be happy to, as long as the news is out there. If there are some sources, good websites, please put it on my nose. I'd be happy to. As for the pushback on negative to women, and I'm going to hang myself here by doing this next story. A lot of that comes back to the early days of the podcast. During the pandemic, there was a comedian I'm about to talk about who, I don't know why, the industry went straight to anointing this person as the next great thing. And I'm a Mets fan, and Mets fans do this thing where you get called up from the minor leagues and you get 2 hits, and suddenly Mets fans will be like, oh, so-and-so's going straight to the Hall of Fame. So-and-so's the next Derek Jeter, Mickey Mantle, Tom Seaver, whoever it is, it's straight. Like, nobody can just be like good. They have to be the next awesome thing. So during the pandemic, there was a comedian, Sarah Cooper. Sarah has a new book out this week, which is why she's back in the news. And she blew up on TikTok. And on TikTok, she was taking the audio of Donald Trump and pantomiming to it. Okay, fine. And the mainstream media looked at that and went, oh my God, this is the future of comedy. Here's a list of things that happened based upon Sarah Cooper pantomiming to Donald Trump on social media. She got to host Jimmy Kimmel Live. Yeah. She got offered a role on a sitcom. Okay. She sold 2 TV pilots, one a project with Ricky Gervais to Netflix, and another based on a book she had written a few years before that to CBS. Okay, fine. And she got a Netflix special directed by Natasha Lyonne. Again, going straight from pantomiming to Donald Trump, which isn't, hey, I'm telling jokes. It's Donald Trump is saying words and I'm remouthing them, to a Netflix special seemed a little quick to me. And I used to comment on that all the time, and that rubbed some of the audience the wrong way. Sarah Cooper's new book is called Foolish. She recounts her roller coaster journey. The LA Times profiled Sarah and says, instead of feeling like she won the lottery, she woke up with echoes of, you suck, you're such a loser, bouncing around in her brain. Netflix and CBS eventually passed on her pilots. Her marriage collapsed, her online numbers dropped. Cooper said, the internet was sort of like this playground for me. I went from 60,000 Twitter followers to 2 million, but a year and a half later, all of a sudden, I didn't feel playful anymore. I was scared that everything I was putting out was being judged. I was scared if I put something out and it was stupid or didn't do well, I would feel that people were saying, Sarah's a hack, a has-been. So she stopped doing Trump. She says, I'm really sick of his voice now. A lot of people write me and want me to do Trump. They'll write, oh my God, he's saying the dumbest things. If you do a video, it would make it so much better. And I think if you would just stop listening to him, it would make it so much better. Those videos are both joyful and icky. I want to be in a world where I'm putting out stuff that makes me happy and brings laughs to me and perhaps other people. And that's it. Sarah Cooper's book is called Foolish, if you want to check that out. This has nothing to do with comedy, but I just feel like people need to know this. Today at 2:20 p.m. Eastern, there will be a nationwide emergency alert test on cell phones, wireless devices, radios, and TV. So at 2:20 Eastern today, everything is just going to go bzzz, and people are going to freak out and think World War III started. The government tells us this is a standard test that occurs at least once every 3 years. No action is needed, but your phone is going to buzz today at 2:20 and people might freak out. The 10th annual Santa Cruz Comedy Festival kicks off today. Eddie Pepitone performing at the Santa Cruz Mountain Brewery. On Friday, The Big Show at the Rio Theater. Moshe Kasher, Marcelo Arguello, and Louis Katz. On Saturday, 40 comics will perform across 7 venues in downtown Santa Cruz. Sounds cool. Meanwhile, in Chicago, it's the 2nd annual Latina Comedy Festival. That's tomorrow through the 7th. The festival features the best Latina stand-up comedic talent from across the country, including Chicago native Gwen LaRocca, LA's Christina Galston, and New York's Sherry Diaz. And the final note of today is no fun. Bill Cosby reportedly has been hit with a new sexual battery lawsuit in an 11-page civil complaint obtained by Deadline. A plaintiff alleges that Cosby drugged and raped her in 1972. She claims she worked at a Bay Area restaurant that Bill Cosby frequented, and that he once followed her home to invite her to a performance that was part of his stand-up comedy album Inside the Mind of Bill Cosby. According to the complaint, the woman felt sick after Cosby gave her a glass of wine in a limousine on the way to the event. She recalls accepting what she believed to be an aspirin from him in a dressing room at the show venue. You can imagine the rest, and I have not seen a response from the Cosby camp. If they have one, I will share it with you. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.